Hello everyone, it's story time, and today we are going to talk about this man who has a lot of thought in his brain, and he is the man who thought he was smarter than his wife. It's a folk tale from Norway brought to you by Pratham books, written by Veena Sheshadri and illustrated by Grace Stroke. There was once a farmer who was always glum and grumpy. But his wife was not like him at all. She worked hard and was cheerful soul. But gloomy Gus was forever finding fault with her. He thought he was stupid and couldn't do the smartest thing right. One evening, gloomy Gus came home from the fields in a very bad mood. He knocked at the door, but his wife was busy, so she took an extra minute or two to open it. This made Gus as grouchy as cross-eyed alligator with a toothache. He yelled at his wife, scolded the baby, and stepped on the poor dog's tail. And his crooked teeth went snap, snap, flash, flash as he kept shouting louder and louder. When he ran out of breath, his wife said, "Shh, shh, why are you making such a fuss? Tomorrow I will go out and work in the fields, and you stay here and take care of my jobs, and let's see how you like it." "That's a good idea," said Gus. He thought he was very smart indeed and wanted to teach his wife a mighty big lesson. "I will show you how things must be done." The next day, the wife was all smiles, as you can see. The husband, as usual, is grumpy. So early next morning, he sent his wife out to work in the fields. Gus, of course, stayed behind at home. First, he began to churn the butter, but he soon found that the job was not easy, as he had thought it would be. Besides, it made him very thirsty. So Gus went down to the cellar to get some ale. He had just opened the tap of ale barrel when he heard the pig come up to the kitchen above. "Sk, sk. What pesky pest of a pig must be at the butter churn, going slurp, slurp, slurp. I must teach him a lesson he won't forget," growled Gus. Without waiting to close the tap, he ran upstairs as fast as he could, shouting, "Scat, scrapper, scram!" But when gloomy Gus reached the kitchen, he was too late. The pig had already knocked over the butter churn, and there it stood, grunting happily in large puddle of cream on the kitchen floor. Gus gave it such a long, hard kick that the pig fell down dead. The poor pig, who knocked out all the butter, was kicked by the grumpy man, and the pig was no more. Whose turn is it next? You guessed it right. Then gloomy Gus remembered that he had left the tap open in the cellar. He ran down the stairs, but it was too late. All the ale had run out of the barrel. His throat was parched and he was huffing and puffing from running up and down the stairs. Then he heard the cow moo. Gus had no time to think of the cow. He had not given her any grass, not even a sip of water. But he felt lazy to take her all the way down to the meadow to graze. He remembered that there was some grass growing on the roof of his house. The house was close against a steep hill. He thought he would be able to get the cow up the roof if he laid a long, flat piece of wood across the back of the roof. But now the little baby was crawling across the kitchen floor. There was still a bit of cream left in the churn, and Gus did not want him to spill it. So he lifted the churn onto his back and went out. He had to give the cow some water before putting it on the roof. When Gus bent forward to draw water from the well, there was more trouble. All the cream spilt out of the churn. It bubbled over his head and shoulder, right into his eyes and nose and ears. And then the churn fell glug, glug, glug into the well. By now it was long past lunchtime. Gus hasn't finished any of the work he should have done. He hadn't churned the butter, nor did he sweep the house, or fed the cow, or the baby, or the dog. And it was long list, and he felt tired even to think of all what he had to do. He didn't clean the house, he didn't feed the cow, the baby was crying, he didn't feed the dog, and the grumpy man had spilled the butter too. By the time he put the cow on the roof, the baby had grown very hungry. He began to bawl long and loud. I want food. So gloomy Gus decided to cook some porridge. He lit the fire and filled a pot of water for the porridge. And then a dreadful thought struck him. The roof sloped very steeply. What if the cow fell off the roof? It would surely break its leg and even its neck. So he went to the roof of the house to tie up the cow. He tied one end of the rope around his neck, but there was nothing on the roof to which he could tie the other end. So Gus slid the loose end of the rope down the kitchen chimney and went back to the kitchen, and he tied the rope which was hanging there around his own leg. The water in the pot was boiling, and he started making the porridge. That was when the cow lost balance and began to fall. Whoopee! Where was the other end? Tied to the leg of the man. And he is going through the chimney. Now the cow was heavy, roly-poly creature. It weighed much more than Gus and his wife and the baby and the dog all put together. The cow slowly slid off the roof, dragging the rope with which it was tied, and as Gus had knotted one end of the rope around his own leg, this pulled him right up the chimney, and there in the chimney Gus remained stuck, unable to go up or down. There he stayed until his wife returned home in the evening. She saw the cow hanging halfway down the side of the house, struggling and kicking, so she quickly cut the rope. The cow reached the ground with a thud, and inside the house, gloomy Gus went tumbling down. Poor man, he ended up with his head in the porridge pot. And guess what? He never ever tried to teach his wife again how to do her job. This is a story brought to you by Story Weaver. Thank you.